Before the sun's fiery orb crested the horizon, the desert lay beneath a blanket of crystalline chill. Under the vault of pre-dawn sky, every grain of sand, every stretch of sun-baked rock, shimmered faintly in the half-light. The air tasted of dust and cold, an unexpected hush before the day's searing heat would descend. Across this stark expanse ambled Kethar, a venerable Sonoran desert tortoise, whose carapace bore the weathered rings of a century. Each ridge and groove in his shell told a tale of drought and deluge, of scorching days and frost-tipped nights. As he plodded along, the coarse gravel crunched beneath his heavy scutes, and his stout legs carved slow furrows in the sand. Though slow, his pace was resolute, every deliberate step guided by memories of places no other living creature could recall. On a distant rise, Kethar spotted his first landmark of the morning, a circle of standing stones, half buried in wind-drifted dunes. These monoliths, once part of an ancient riverbank, now stood as silent sentinels, their surfaces bleached white by centuries of blazing sun. In his youth, Kethar's ancestors discovered that, at dawn's equinox, the leaning stones cast shadows in a precise formation, a living sundial that marked the entrance to a hidden oasis. As the first sliver of golden light crept over the eastern dunes, Kethar halted beneath the tallest stone. He lifted his leathery neck and inhaled deeply, tasting the faint tang of deep water on the breeze, an aroma no traveler of the surface sands could perceive. He watched as the monolith's shadow stretched out, narrowing until its tip bisected a smaller marker stone beside him. In that perfect alignment, sunlight, stone, and shadow, lay the key to the desert's greatest secret. With a measured grunt, Kethar extended a front leg and pressed it against the marker's carved notch. The stone shifted with a low, grinding cough, dislodging from its sandy bed to reveal a seam in the earth beneath. His heart, beating with the quiet dignity of eons, quickened in anticipation. Here, concealed by drifting dunes and masked by midday mirages, lay the trapdoor to Kahuya Spring, a subterranean haven of cool pools, lush reeds, and life-saving water. As the sun's rays flooded the desert plain, Kethar exhaled a triumphant rumble. For in this moment, where ancient stone shadows met a tortoise's faithful memory, the desert's hidden heart stirred to welcome its guardian once more. And so, with dawn's first light as his compass, Kethar began the slow descent into the cool, unknown depths that would sustain both him and the many creatures who depended on the oasis he alone could unlock. As the sun crested the dunes, its rays sharpened the shadows of the standing stones into dark, precise lines on the bleached sand. Kethar shifted his weight, his great shell catching the light, and studied the slender shaft of shadow stretching from the tallest monolith to the marker stone. This was no ordinary alignment. Centuries of observations had taught his ancestors that only on the equinox did the stone's shadows unite in the perfect geometric key. Kethar lowered his head, nostrils flaring as he inhaled the desert's hidden breath, a faint, cool scent of subterranean moisture that mingled with the arid heat. He traced the shadow's path with a clawed foreleg, pressing at the marker's carved notch until the stone budged. A low, resonant grinding filled the hollow air as the sand around it sifted away. With painstaking care, Kethar levered the stone aside, revealing a narrow aperture rimmed with ancient sandstone. He paused on the threshold, sensing the sudden drop in temperature and the hushed promise of water echoing from below. Behind him, the standing stones gleamed like sentinels of an age-long pact between earth and creature. Ahead, the trapdoor's sandstone lid lay open, its grooved underside carved with the same spiral symbols that adorned the monoliths above, a code written in rock by tortoise ancestors who first unlocked this refuge. With a gentle grunt, Kethar pressed his thick front legs onto the smooth stone floor of the passage. The air was damp and heavy, redolent with the sweet musk of unseen springs. Tiny motes of sand sifted from the entrance, drifting like spectral dust in the half-light. Each breath carried a chill, a promise of sanctuary from the desert's forging sun. As Kethar stepped fully into the chamber, The trapdoor settled back into place above him with a final, muted click. The desert's roar faded behind the sealed stones, replaced by the soft drip of water in the darkness. In that moment, when ancient stone shadows aligned and the cipher of sand and light revealed its secret, Kethar bore witness to the desert's greatest treasure, a hidden oasis born of memory, patience, and the enduring wisdom etched into every groove of his ancient shell. Kethar's heavy forelegs gingerly tested each sandstone step as he entered the narrow shaft. The air, once parched and sun-baked, shifted to a cool, damp embrace, each breath nipping at his nostrils with the promise of water. Flickers of lichen-green bioluminescence clung to the walls, their gentle glow revealing ancient petroglyphs, spiraling lines, water symbols, and stylized tortoise silhouettes left by his forebears. With deliberate slowness, Kethar placed his front legs on the first ledge. Below him, shallow corrugations in the stone provided footholds worn smooth by generations of pilgrim tortoises. Every movement was measured. One misstep could send him crashing into the cavern's depths, yet he trusted the instinct passed down through his blood. His ancestors had always found safe passage in these halls. As he progressed deeper, the walls narrowed, forcing Kethar to angle his shell and draw his head in close beneath low-hanging stalactites. Each stalactite dripped a rhythmic, echoing plink into the gathering pool at the shaft's base. Kethar paused to listen, his heart beating in time with the water's soft percussion. In his mind, he rehearsed the tortoise chant, a low rumble of ancestral memory that guided each pilgrim safely forward. Rounding a gentle curve, Kethar descended a second series of steps carved by time. Here, the sandstone darkened, and the air carried a richer scent of damp earth and ancient minerals. Small blind fish, ghostly white and eyeless, flitted through crystalline rivulets that meandered along the channel's edges. Kethar's calloused feet barely disturbed their domain as he padded past, a living titan sharing their sacred refuge. Midway down, he paused on a wide ledge lined with rushes that sprouted from fissures. Their tender green fronds brushed against his legs, a living reminder of the life this oasis sustained. Kethar craned his neck upward and caught a flash of daylight through the entrance above, his last glimpse of the desert sun before plunging deeper into the earth's cool heart. With a final, resolute grunt, he stepped off the ledge into the cavern's main chamber. The passage opened before him into a vaulted space where pale columns dripped from the ceiling and the central pool gleamed like liquid glass. Each measured step in his descent had been a testament to centuries of wisdom, etched in stone by time and carried in the tortoise's enduring memory. As Kethar's broad belly slipped beneath the archway, he carried with him the desert's secret lifeblood, preserved beneath the surface for all who knew how to follow the stone shadow cipher. In the vaulted chamber's hush, Kethar's eyes adjusted to the soft luminescence of bioluminescent fungi carpeting the damp walls. Their pale green glow drifted like ghostly lanterns, casting shifting patterns on the vaulted ceiling and illuminating the vast hollow before him. At its heart lay a crystalline pool, its surface so still it mirrored the fungi's shimmer and the tortoise's own weathered reflection. He edged forward, each ponderous step stirring ripples that spread like whispered invitations through the water. Along the pool's rim, slender reeds and papyrus shoots thrust from the silty floor, their emerald stalks brushing against Kethar's rough-edged carapace as he neared. Soft mats of moss clung to submerged stones, and delicate water lilies floated at the edges, their petals unfurling in the cavern's gentle embrace. Above, pale stalactites dripped in unison, their rhythmic plink-plink, a lullaby of renewal. Each drop sent concentric rings across the pool, delicate echoes of the deep spring's patience. Kethar lowered his head and drank, the cool water filling his parched throat with a clean sweetness that banished every vestige of desert thirst. He dipped again and again, drawing sustenance from the hidden reservoir his ancestors had guarded for centuries. Beyond the central pool, secondary channels branched into hidden grottos, where date palms and desert willow thrived in verdant enclaves. Kethar explored one such offshoot, pressing aside trailing roots to reveal a cache of sun-dried dates, food stored by tortoise ancestors for times of famine. Each leathery fruit spoke of foresight and survival, a testament to the desert's generosity when guided by wisdom. In the moonlit glow of this subterranean sanctuary, Kethar felt the weight of his lineage settle upon him. He was both guardian and beneficiary of a secret world, one where life flourished beneath the relentless sun. As he settled beside the central pool, he rumbled a soft, contented murmur, an ancient tortoise's hymn of gratitude for an oasis born of stone, shadow, and the enduring memory of generations. Kethar sat in silent vigil beside the crystalline pool, his leathery skin cooled by the subterranean air. Around him, the cavern teemed with life drawn to this secret haven. A family of sidewinder snakes, dappled in sandy browns and cream, coiled in shaded alcoves, their flickering tongues tasting the moisture in the air. A school of blind cavefish, pale and smooth, darted beneath the water's surface, navigating by subtle shifts in current. Even diminutive hermit crabs, carried here on torrents long past, scuttled along the muddy banks, their shells encrusted with mineral deposits. Yet for all these creatures, Kethar remained the oasis's living sentinel. At his low, rhythmic rumbles, the snakes relaxed their poised coils. The fish slowed their darting arcs. The crabs paused their scavenging to acknowledge his presence with quiet clicks. Each species recognized that this tortoise, ancient, sagacious, was more than a passing traveler. He was the keyholder, whose memory and care kept the hidden spring flowing and the cavern safe from the parched world above. Dappled light filtered through hidden shafts, narrow cracks in the rock ceiling where the sun's rays pierced the darkness, and fell upon Kethar's carapace in warm patterns. The tortoise noted each shaft's angle. These beams would mark the times to reseal the oasis when drought conditions worsened. With a slow, deliberate motion, he rose and ambled to a side passage where a fallen boulder lay. Using his powerful forelegs, he nudged it into place to block an unused alcove, ensuring no curious intruder, human or predator, could stumble upon the sanctum. Returning to the pool, Kethar used his stout beak to skim floating algae from the water's surface and distribute it to the fish below. In turn, they nibbled away at the growth, keeping the pool clear and vibrant. He then tested the water level by dipping a front leg into shallows, hidden beneath reeds, an ancient ritual of stewardship that ensured the spring's flow remained balanced. Content that the oasis thrived, Kethar settled back onto a bed of soft silt, his gaze sweeping the cavern's every corner. As shadows lengthened in the subterranean grove, the tortoise rumbled once more, a low, sonorous call that resonated through the stone corridors. It was both a lullaby and a warning. Here, life endured on the desert's edge, safeguarded by memory etched in shell and stone. And in the hush that followed, the hidden spring pulsed with quiet gratitude, its guardianship entrusted to the slow, unwavering heartbeat of an ancient desert tortoise. As afternoon light filtered faintly through cracks in the cavern's ceiling, Kethar stirred from his sentinel's rest. Though the hidden spring's waters remained cool and abundant, he knew that the desert's relentless cycles would soon test this sanctuary's resilience. It was time to perform the ritual of renewal, a centuries-old practice woven into the tortoise's very bones. He began at the grove of young reeds lining the pool's edge. With his sturdy foreleg, he scraped away excess silt that threatened to smother their roots, revealing fresh, nutrient-rich mud beneath. Then, shifting his weight, he used the flat of his carapace to tamp down the loosened sediment, creating gentle terraces that would channel future drips from the stalactites above directly to the plant's bases. Each meticulous press of shell and scute ensured the reeds would thrive through the hottest months. Next, Kethar lumbered to the cluster of date palms growing in the pool's furthest corner. Among their roots lay a hidden cache of sun-dried date pits, remnants of past seasons' bounty left by tortoise ancestors. He gathered several in his beak and crushed them between heavy scutes, their fibrous kernels releasing a fine mulch. With deliberate strokes, he spread the crushed pits around the palm bases, enriching the soil with slow-releasing nutrients that would feed next year's saplings. From the ruined masonry of a collapsed side passage, Kethar retrieved a pile of smooth river stones, transported here in ages past by human hands or floodwaters. He arranged them in a shallow channel leading from a secondary seep to the cavern's low bench, fashioning a miniature aqueduct that would carry any overflow safely away from the main pool. Each stone was set carefully, its flat face pressed flush to its neighbor, creating a watertight mosaic that guided precious droplets where they could nourish marginal plant pockets. Throughout the chamber, small clusters of bioluminescent fungi clung to shaded niches. Kethar paused before each, using his beak to prune away old, decaying fronds and encouraging fresh growth. He knew these living lanterns not only illuminated the grotto's depths, but also fostered beneficial microbes that maintained water purity. As dusk's dim glow settled, Kethar returned to the pool's edge. He dipped his beak for a final sip, eyes reflecting the soft phosphorescence around him. With a slow, satisfying exhalation, an ancient tortoise's sigh of accomplishment, he rumbled the hymn of renewal, a low vibration that resonated through rock and water alike. In that moment, the hidden oasis hummed with balanced life, its cycles secured by the ritual of renewal and the unwavering devotion of its desert tortoise guardian. As the first pink fingers of dawn began to caress the desert sky, Kethar lingered at the grotto's threshold, his broad shell still veined with droplets from the hidden spring. Behind him lay the oasis's vaulted halls, now humming with balanced life, fish gliding beneath lily pads, reeds whispering in stirred currents, and bioluminescent fungi fading into daylight's embrace. Yet above, the desert sun had already begun its relentless ascent, and Kethar knew it was time to reseal the sanctuary and return to the bleaching sands. He shuffled forward to the trapdoor at the base of the passage, each powerful leg lifting and settling with deliberate care on the smooth sandstone. With a practiced push of his carapace, he slid the marker stone back into its carved groove, the crack of settling rock echoing like a final note in a subterranean symphony. Behind him, the standing stone's shadows, now shortened by the rising sun, no longer aligned. The cipher had closed until the next equinox, sealing the oasis from unwary seekers. Emerging once more into the open air, Kethar paused beneath the circle of monoliths. The desert dawn was already fierce, a blast furnace of gold light that chased away the last vestiges of night's cool. Each stone blazed in brilliance, their surfaces stripped of shadow, and the sands at Kethar's feet shimmered with the promise of a new day. He inhaled the arid breeze, tasting dust rather than moisture, and lifted his head in a triumphant horn of gratitude, a deep, resonant rumble that rolled across the dunes like a vow. With the oasis's secret sealed in stone and memory, Kethar turned his course toward the distant sandstone buttes, landmarks he had traversed countless times. His slow but steadfast gait set ribbed trails in the sand, mapping his journey back to watering holes and foraging grounds shaped by a lifetime of migrations. Behind him, the monoliths rose silent, guardians of the hidden heart he had tended once more. By mid-morning, Kethar reached a stony wash where a solitary yucca clung to life. He paused to drink from a small pool collected in a rock hollow, water warmed by the sun but still sweet enough to sustain him until nightfall. Each sip was a reminder that the desert's scarcity was matched only by its generosity to those wise enough to honor its rhythms. As the sun vaulted overhead, Kethar found a patch of shade beneath an outcropping of boulders. There, he nestled into the cool earth, carapace blending with the crackled rock, and closed his ancient eyes. Around him, the desert thrummed with midday quiet. A lone lizard scuttled across sun-baked stone, a Gila woodpecker tapped a distant mesquite, and the wind whispered across the dunes. In that lofty stillness, Kethar's mind drifted over the chamber's glowing pools, the ritual of renewal, and the stone shadow cipher that linked surface and subterranean worlds. His heart, steady as the earth itself, held the oasis's secret safe, entrusted to a tortoise's unwavering memory. And as the desert sun blazed its noontime testament, Kethar slumbered in shade, content in the knowledge that the hidden spring would endure, waiting for the next equinox dawn and the slow, faithful steps of its ancient guardian.